Just in case you guys can't tell by the way I'm dressed, it is quite literally freezing outside. It's 23 degrees, it's December 1st, and one of my goals every single year is to fish into December. We've made it, somehow. It's really, really weird. It's been 80 degrees in October, you know, really warm to start the month of November, and then over the last week, it basically fell into the 30s and never got above like 34 degrees. So things are icing up really quick. This is probably going to be my last trip of the season. We're going to winterize the boat after this, but I had to get out one last time. Now we're out here on a lake that I haven't been to in a couple of years. It's a lake that I've had some pretty decent success late season on, and it's one of those places where I feel relatively comfortable and confident that I hopefully should catch at least a couple bass. So it's a good place to kind of come at the end of the season and try and boost my confidence. Now, like I said, it's very, very cold. I mean, my camera's freezing, my hands are cold. We don't know what's going to happen. This time of year, you don't know if you're going to get fish that are going to be really aggressive and active because it's their last chance to feed, or if those fish are going to be really lethargic and not want to bite. But that's going to be the goal for today, is to catch some fish. Now, I'm going to be using the Omnia Pro app, and I've talked a lot about this all season long, but the Omnia Pro app has been a huge player for me in kind of picking out areas to fish. Mostly because of the wind, sometimes because of the water clarity and water temperature like it was up on Hubbard. But today, it's going to be in finding those hard bottom areas. And that's how I'm going to be using the app today to give me an idea of places to start looking. This time of year, when it's really, really cold, these fish like to get on those hard bottom areas and kind of hang out. Or they'll hang out on the edge of that where it falls into the really soft mud. And they'll sit into that mud because it tends to hold heat a little bit longer and it's just a little bit easier. Those hard bottom areas can cool off and heat up faster, which is nice, but a lot of times these fish like to hang out, you know, on that transition. So what I'm going to do is open up Omnia, and you guys can tell I use the Navionics mapping layers a lot, but I'm going to change this to the CMAP social bottom hardness. Now this is a social map feature, so it's based on how many people are out here using, you know, the Lowrance mapping and the CMAP mapping technologies, but it's going to give me ideas of hard bottom areas to look. Now I know just by being out here that a lot of these points are hard bottom points, and some of these areas kind of on these edges of these humps are pretty good, but this is going to give me a good idea of where to start looking for these fish, and kind of get me out here and give me a starting point when I get to the lake. So this is where I'm launching at, you know, a really deep basin. There's a really nice cut through here. There's some hard bottom on the edge of that. You know, this bank looks like it has some hard bottom. It's really, really flat though, which I don't necessarily like this time of year. But here you have a really steep drop. See those lines really tight together? So I'm going to use this area as a focus point where these fish can kind of set up on this hard bottom area, because it even goes into these tight contours and then falls off into really deep water. These fish are looking for wintering areas, but they're still kind of on the feed, especially as the water's a little bit warmer. So looking for those areas with really tight contours where they start to spread out is going to be a really key focal spot for me. I am the world's worst at having my net ready, but today I'm going to try and change that. We're going to start with the net ready, so if we catch some fish, hopefully we do, we're ready with the net. And I'm going to start out with that little sniper jig. If I had to pick a bait all season long, Beast Coast Sniper is going to be the one that I'm throwing, basically like #1. So that's what we're going to start with. Hopefully there'll be some fish suspended. My line won't freeze up too terrible. We'll have a shot at some bass to end the season pretty strong. There's one, first one of the day, right on that hard point. That's a big largemouth. Hard bottom point. Look at that, dude. It is fun when a plan comes together. That is a super nice largemouth. 38-degree water. Beautiful, beautiful largemouth. Dude, plans don't always suck. Here we go. All I'm doing is casting that jig out on these hard bottom points and just hopping it along. It's not like ultra efficient, but it's 38 degrees. It's one of my favorite ways to catch them. This deep water stuff. It's like freezing up. You guys could hear that ice probably snap out of my guides. Dude, that's fun. Thanks, buddy. What's crazy too is like this time of year, when you catch one, there should be like 30 of them there. I wouldn't be surprised if I cast back in and caught one like right away. Another one just kind of that same size. Thanks, buddy. Not a very good release, but there's like a million of them there. Oh yeah, they weren't really visible on forward before, but they're all over now. That's what happens when you catch one out of a pod. Like the whole school like lifts off bottom. It isn't like the quality I'm necessarily looking for, but it's a lot of fish. It's just a point leading back up into this bay. It's got some hard bottom on it. There's some grass. It's snowing. It's December. My fingers are still cold even though I caught some fish. Normally that helps warm me up, but there are a bajillion. Oh, missed one. There are a bajillion fish there. I smell like that grass they're in. Man, the deck is getting icy. Man, it is beautiful. I mean, it's cold, but it's not bad. And dude, I just am so grateful for days like this, man. Can't explain to you guys what this kind of stuff does for my soul. So grateful for all of you guys too. So much support over the years. I mean, even when I tend to take a step back, you guys keep supporting me, and I just really appreciate each and every one of you guys. Now today's beautiful. I just caught a fish. It's snowing. It's December. I think it's a pretty big one. what can get better? Not a whole lot. I think that's really big. What are you? There we go. Oh, thank you, buddy. I'm not joking, man. I needed this bad. Man, this feels so good. Okay, so forward facing is really cool, obviously, to catch fish, but like what it's really cool for is to show you what they're feeding on. And those are a bunch of bluegill, and so these fish are either keyed in or on that grass so they can feed around those, you know, shallow water bluegill, or they're feeding up there on crawfish. I don't necessarily care, but being able to find the bait with forward facing is really cool, and it helps you identify a lot more quickly what they're feeding on. I could probably sit on that point and catch 50 to 100 fish. I mean, there's so many there. None of them are really that bigger size, so I'll come back if I need to, you know, just lean on a few. But I'm looking for maybe a little bit bigger fish, 4 or 5 pounder. There's some really big fish in this lake, and so that's what we're going to be searching for. It still hasn't gotten any warmer, but I have caught so many fish, and I keep telling you guys how grateful I am, but truthfully, like today I needed coming out here, taking you guys out, showing you how to catch some fish, figuring out this hard spot thing. And what we've dialed in is that a lot of these fish aren't necessarily on like the deep random hard spots. They're on where it drops off hard, and there's some grass on that lip, and there's a hard spot inside that grass. I think those fish are actually setting up looking at that grass patch, and they're basically waiting for that jig to pop out of the grass like a little bluegill or a crawfish, and that's when they're biting it. You just take that jig, you cast it up in there, you bury it in that grass, pop it out, falls to the hard spot, and you can feel it kind of get hard there, and you dead stick it or you super slowly drag it, and these fish are crushing it. I probably caught 15 to 20 fish. I've not caught any big ones yet. I went out and was going to mess around doing the scoping thing, but I'm going to keep doing this hard spot grass deal. I'll show you guys what it looks like on the graph and how I'm able to quickly identify it along with Omnia Pro, and that's what I'm doing. I'm kind of looking for these areas that set up right, and they have a bunch of fish. They're not giants, but it's December 1st and we're catching them. Dude, some of these bites are just pressure bites. Like, they just kind of get on it randomly. It's not like a super hard thump, which is also frustrating because you just gotta, like, that's why I keep shaking that rod, because you don't know if it's ice in your guides or what. Dang it, that stinks. That felt like a good one. Their mouths are also really hard, so when I loosened that drag earlier, I don't think that helped any with that fish. It's fun, but it's also a struggle this time of year to, you know, sometimes tell what's going on. Then you're bundled up in all your gear. You really got to pay attention to what everything's doing. That was a bite. I just kind of saw my line go tight when I shouldn't have. Ah, damn. Dude, they're like barely getting it. Something's wrong about my presentation. Tell me that wasn't a bite. Might have been a pike. There's one back on that same point. It's like there's something to it. Who'd have thunk? He didn't miss it. He certainly didn't miss it. Look at. You go to a different point, they miss it, they don't want to get it. No. This one's out here on that hard bottom. They're feeding, they're aggressive, and they like to eat. That's how they eat. I mean, how many times do I have to tell you guys how good this jig is before you recognize it catches them all year, all the time? It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Now, I love jig fishing in general, but this sniper is special, dude. It catches them everywhere I go, all the time. It's special. What a weird bite. I'm not saying these fish aren't eating it good, but they're just eating a little funky. It's like you kind of feel it hung up, but it's not hung up, it's bass. That's how they're eating it. And I don't mind it, but I would really like them to eat it so I know it's a bite. So I've mentioned this topic probably 4 or 5 times in past videos, but what I think happened this morning was a major bite window. I got out here and the bite was absolutely incredible. Every spot you rolled up on, there were fish. Every hard spot you cast to, they'd bite that jig. And basically, after about 10:30, 10 o'clock, that window really shut down. Those bites stopped coming. Obviously, we had some weather push in. We had that snow flurry. We have a little snow coming in right now. But I'm a big believer that especially in cold water situations and cold water periods of the year, a bite window is a really important thing to pay attention to. Now, it can't definitely come out here and like change your day. If you're not around fish, you're not going to just magically start catching them. But if you're in a good area and there are fish there, bite windows are definitely something that are real, and it's periods in time throughout the day that fish seem to bite better. The bites definitely slowed down quite a bit. I pulled back through those couple areas that I caught them really good this morning just to see if it was one of those things where it was bite window or maybe I was just in the wrong area. Now the water temp is a lot warmer over here. It's like 38, 39 degrees as opposed to over there where it's like 34 degrees. So that could have to do with it as well, but these fish are definitely a lot more negative right now. So I'm a big believer in those bite windows. I think that's something that's going on right now. I'd be really curious to know if you guys think bite windows are a real thing and have seen it on your bodies of water. Dead still. I've been fishing this jig kind of fast because of how many fish are there. I'm wondering if I just need to cast it in the air and let it sit. Not that I'm not catching them, but I mean, for as many as are there, you'd think you'd get bit every cast. This is another little area you guys can see. It's an inside turn, and then you have sand bottom right here. And that sand is a lot harder than the mud that a lot of these fish are going to sit in. So it's that nice mud transition right in this corner. dead stick again. A very slow hop. That's a better one. Just spit up something. I wish I could see what it was. Thanks, buddy. Nice fish. There's so many fish here. I did switch up that jig just a little bit. It's still that half-ounce sniper, but I put a little GLF snack craw on there. It's a little bit smaller presentation. A lot of those fish are just kind of getting the back end of it, so I'm hoping that'll help, and it seems to have. Especially when I dead stick that thing, it doesn't seem like they're missing it. So we'll see. So when I came out here this morning, I figured it would be like a deeper water hard spot thing where you get off on that ledge where it flattens out and you find those spots that are harder. And that's what that point was. It had a hard spot on it. But I actually think what made that spot so good was the inside grass line of that last remaining grass. Because I just found another spot just like it where there's some grass right on the edge of that drop. And there's a hard spot there. You can feel it with that jig. And I just caught 2 of my better fish of the day so far on that harder spot. Thanks, buddy. You just slow drag that jig through it. And that's probably a 2.5 pounder. So it's a nice fish in December. Thanks, buddy. This is what it looks like on my live scope. You can see that drop with the grass on the edge, and then it gets hard right there, and there's a bunch of fish sitting there. There's even some on the inside edge. But that's really the key that I'm finding, is if you can find those little patches of grass, you can find those little grass lines, those fish are sitting on the deeper edge of it, probably waiting for stuff to come out of the... missed one. Probably waiting for stuff to come out of the grass. What I'm doing is making that long cast, and there's, you know, a grass line there, and it drops off. This is where it starts to flatten out, drops off really steep right there, and there's just a little harder bottom spot, and there's a bunch of fish set up sort of in that edge right when you can feel it come out of the grass. This is why I keep saying the bite feels funny. You pop it out of the grass, you start pulling it on that hard spot, and that's where the bites are coming. Oh. There's one. They're not shy. They're good on this spot. Seems like everywhere else you can sort of see them on scope and you can find them. Oh, that's a better one. But on this spot, and they're eating it. Look how pretty that fish is too. Wow, I didn't think that was a bite. He hit it so hard, I thought that was me pulling the boat away from it. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, that fish is so pretty. Thanks, buddy. Hasta la vista. There's one. That's a better one. Probably my biggest one of the day. Yeah. That's gotta be a 4 pounder, 3.5. Thanks, buddy. Look how fat that one is. Thank you, dude. What a healthy fat fish. Beautiful fish. Dude, you cannot ask for a better day to end the year. You literally can't. There's no better way to end the year than this. Dude. There we go. Did he bleed? Dude, heck yeah, heck yeah. I'm scoping with a diddy blade. What I'm doing is I'm fishing this bait actually up in the column, which I've never done before. And well, got a pike. I got a bass. Either they're biting or I figured something out. That's sweet. I don't like this snow. The snow looks cool, but it kind of scares me. So this is going to be my last cast of 24. I want to get this thing on the trailer and head it home. Yeah, that's it. Get this thing on the trailer. The snow looks awesome, but I don't know how much it's going to come down, and it's going to make these roads a mess. So that's going to wrap up the 24 season, and it was a really fun day. I needed today to just get out here and catch some fish. But you guys saw how I used that Omnia Pro today to really dial in those harder bottom areas. That's where those fish seem to be setting up, on that outside grass line. They'd set up on the hard bottom area, they'd feed as that bait came out of the grass and started dragging on the bottom. So that was really, really cool to show you guys. That's a feature I use a ton, especially early and late season when you just have like last remaining grasses or even no grass in your body of water at all. Those hard bottom areas, those transition spots can be really, really productive, especially this time of year. You guys can see behind me, it's like a whiteout. I'm gonna get driving home. Last time I had something like this, it didn't turn out great, so we're gonna drive slow, drive safe, and just really cherish this last day of 2024 open water bass fishing season. But if you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button down below, and as always, thank you guys so much for watching. Take care, tight lines, God bless, pursue your passion.